We're created to communicate. Results of loneliness. This is science once again. This is Health Day, and I'm going to show you how this thing affects your health. Results of loneliness. You're more likely to catch a cold. You're slower to recover. Increase both mortality, and sickness reoccurrence. Increase your risk of dying from all causes. How does this do this to us? How? Results of loneliness. Did you know that the more friends you have, the less likely you are to catch a cold? That's what one doctor at Carnegie Mellon University, one of them high prestigious college, found out. And also that if you do come down with a cold, it is easier or it's better you recover faster when you have more social contacts. Right? And another doctor at Stanford University found that women who has breast cancer, they live longer, significantly longer than those they live longer if they participated in a psychosocial therapy. In other words, hey, I'm John, I'm an alcoholic type stuff. If they attended that, all they had to do was attend that. They live longer than those who stayed in their rooms, cried on pills and drugs and medication, whatever that you would want to call it. But they live longer. That's what one doctor found in Stanford University. That's not Oakwood or Andrews. This is science. This is science. So, and another one, UCLA, and investigators at UCLA found out that, the group who also participated in those psychosocial groups found out that they reduced both mortality and cancer reoccurrence for the patients. Another doctor, Dr. James House, reviewed an extensive body of literature in the 1980s, and he studied a total of 10,000 women. And he came to the conclusion of this. Social isolation will increase your risk of dying from all causes. We were not created to be alone, y'all. This affects our health and we don't even know it. Check this out. America, it seems so ironic that we are plagued with loneliness. In America, a nation has never been more populous. 300 million plus people. And it has never been more connected. Cell phones, text messages, emails, everything. UPS one day shipping over to China. Y'all see them commercials? Mm-hmm. I love those commercials. But we have never been so more connected in our lives. But people are so busy, one psychologist said. And she said, we become a society where we expect things instantly and don't spend time it takes to have real intimacy with another person. We don't spend the time to invest ourselves in other people. We don't spend the time to invest ourselves in God. And this affects our health. It kills us. It kills us physically. It makes you cold. Your body is telling you signals that I'm not used to being lonely because I was created to be with someone. That's what your body is telling you. That's what our body is telling you. The trend towards isolation surfaced in the U.S. Census figures, which shows that 1/4 of our nation's 27.2 million people consists of a household of one person. 27 million people, compared to 10% in the 1950s. We were not created to be alone, but yet we see a whole bunch of people alone. We see a whole bunch of people dying of loneliness. What is that? Have you ever went to your doctor and says, well, yeah, you got a case of loneliness? What is that? It leads to things. Somebody said depression. It leads to things. Loneliness. Social isolation affects your health. It suppresses your immune system. That's why you can catch a cold so easily when you're alone. And you would think that the more friends you have, the more likely you are to catch a cold. You would think that. But, you know, I told Sabbath school just last week that the definition, my definition of a cold is that the cold is just telling that your body, telling yourself that your immune system is weak. Because if your immune system was on point, you wouldn't catch a cold. Everybody in here can catch a cold, and if my immune system is on point, I will not catch a cold. But if I do catch a cold, that means my immune system has been suppressed. And we'll speak about that in the afternoon, this afternoon. And chronic social isolation is linked to heart disease. It stresses the entire cardiovascular system, the immune system. I don't want y'all to read all that, but when you're stressed, your body releases a hormone called cortisol, which is referred to as the stress hormone. And a little of it is good. It helps with stress. But higher and more prolonged levels of it in the bloodstreams has negative effects on your health. And look at those. But all I want y'all to focus on is the bigger one that says lowered immunity and inflammatory responses in the body, slow wound healing, and other health consequences. Loneliness affects your health. And the title of today's sermon is, I Need You to Survive. I need you. Y'all probably never seen this. Y'all probably never really realized this before, but I really do need you. I can't do this alone. I can't do this alone. The immune system, loneliness also produces fear antibodies and lower antiviral responses, which all deals with, you know, fighting diseases and stuff like that. But I'm going to bring it back to church. Now science. And, you know, that's what science said about loneliness. But look what God says. We're created to communicate, right? Right. There's this time, Jesus was hungry. And the disciples went out to go get Jesus food. And Jesus was talking to the lady at the well, I believe. And then the disciples came back. It's like, I got food for you, Jesus. He's like, no, I don't need it no more. Like, what? You just said you're hungry. Look what Jesus said. Jesus said to them, my food is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. How does loneliness affect your health? It is God's will that we be with someone. We have friends. You know, we come to church. We're social beings. We're created to be social beings. And it's God's will, right? But every time we are out of the will of God, we are not eating. And what happens when you don't eat? You get hungry. And eventually you starve. And eventually you die. Who would love to eat once a week? Who would love to eat just on Saturdays? That's not a good thing, y'all. But we do that. We come right here. We eating right now, but during the week we're going to starve ourselves till next Saturday. You know, that's how it affects our health. Science has made a scientific explanation, which is correct, of how loneliness affects our health. But I'm going to dumb it down for y'all. Make it so much easier that if you're not doing what you were created to do, you die. You get sick. If you are not doing what you were created to. So we're created to communicate. We're created to communicate. Right? And body of Christ. The eyes need the nose and the ears. We're created to be together, y'all. We're created to be together. And if we're not, then it affects us. It destroys our health. We can't continue on like this. And look what Spirit of Prophecy said. Students should be taught that they are not independent atoms, but that each one is a thread.